Hello everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here today to participate in such an important conference. Today I will talk about what have we learned in the last 10 years of language assessment research with a special focus on the Saudi local context. When we talk about assessment, there's always the discussion about the role of the teacher within teaching, learning, and assessment, and the alignment between learning objectives and assessment tasks. And these are research areas of exploration, the uses of tests for accountability purposes, and how tests can affect the way we learn, the way we teach, and the way we assess, and also the importance of assessment for learning as a component of classroom practice, and how there are studies related to innovations and implementations, and how the difficulties of these implementations within the limitations of the classroom, and the influence of economic values on test scores on teaching environment, how the values that we have for these test scores can affect our teaching environment, and it can affect the way we learn, we develop, and how students develop their language skills. And then we have topics related to stakeholder groups, knowledge of language assessment. What do they know? What do they need to know? And teachers' access to assessment-related training and education, the influence of local context on assessment knowledge and practice, which is very important that focus on localization and how when we use resources from other cultures, we can align them with what we know or what we do. Online assessment security, innovations in language assessment, sustainability in language assessment, and also AI tools for language assessment, for example, test generation tools. Now we'll have a look at the Lucas approach to a classroom assessment inventory. That I like this one because it's a very straightforward, and it has assessment purposes, assessment processes, fairness, and measurement theory. So we have assessment for learning, of learning, and as learning, and also designing, scoring, and communicating the results, and then fairness aspects such as standardization, equitability, and differentiation. And finally, validity and reliability. Now the hot topic is AI and language assessment. Now we can say there are tools and softwares with automated grading system, adaptive assessment, AI generated tests, data analytics, virtual reality assessment, and gamified assessments. There are several, as I said, innovative tools in language assessment that has been developed by large companies, and these devices or softwares are very sophisticated, developed in the Western countries such as USA. Are they accessible? Not yet. Does it cost a lot of money? Yes. To buy or to use or to administrate in the classroom. So while still they are very big, and people are talking about them, doing research, experimenting, using various tools, still not very accessible. AI generated test features. What are the main features for these tests? They are tailored and adaptive to the learners, and there are variations in test versions. So this is an additional support for the teacher, also a second eye for the teacher. It's a source for new ideas, real-time results, also real-time analytics. So once students they are done with the test, we know the results. We know they can receive automated feedback about their performance. Also, it can help with producing relevant and effective evaluations if the machine is trained to mimic humans' behavior. So we can use it. We can use these features, for example, to support the teacher's correction for writing or speaking as a second rater. There are a few studies that have been done in the area of language in the Saudi context. Not all of the studies listed here are assessment focused, but they mentioned assessment, or they use tools to assess students, whether for formative or summative purposes. So here is a summary of the key studies and what they explored. ChatGPT challenges and opportunities in the context, the impact of AI in reducing teachers' anxiety by, as I said, having an additional support or a second eye or another resource to find information. Also, there is a topic of students and teacher competency and readiness for AI-generated assessment, the impact of cultural intelligence on stakeholder groups, AI grading applications, and a student's perception of innovative tools. What did we learn from these studies? There are some challenges related to using innovative assessment tools, such as lack of localizations. As I said, these tools are developed in developed countries, so some of the trained it's not yet it's not accessible to not only the community, also for researchers to train the machine to hear and to read text from users of the language as a second, or user as a second or a foreign language user. Which might differ from the experience of someone who lives in, for example, in Europe or the USA. Also, unified assessment practices, given that language tests in many universities are unified, so it's hard to incorporate innovative tools. Technical barriers and fractures, and how much does it cost? Ethical considerations about the use and access, and how the data are processed. Scalability, as I said, the fractures. Also, how the tools can be adjusted or can support in different to different contexts, different types of learners. Also, special needs, differentiation between students, and also how to handle the specific requirement for the institution. Another thing is an institution budget. It does cost a lot of money to buy an advanced AI tool to be used in a large scale. Another one is institutional policy. Some institutions are not excited or happy about the use of AI, or they have reservation about it, and also they have policy about using AI. Some universities, they even block AI supported websites from the university server. Finally, cultural norms, like some of these tools, they require voice recording using the camera, and these can be some of the challenges for the norms people use to in their culture. We want to take a step forward. What are the solutions? First, to review the institutional policies and to see whether we can accommodate having innovative tools, evaluate current practices and what we have out there, learn from local experience, whether local, it means like in our local area, or it could be other countries in the region. And then testing innovative tools, integrating these tools into our educational system, then train the staff and the use of these tools, also training students to be able to understand why we are using it, how it's useful, and how it can help them with their learning. Monitor and evaluate the implementation process, and then finally identify necessary improvements and the cycle continues. The graphic approach. There are some the areas that were explored, such as the formative assessment, authentic assessment, continuous assessment, and learning-oriented assessment. The using of online assessment tools such as Blackboard, Cortiv, and Google Form, and also language assessment during COVID, the pandemic, and how things changed during that time, and how things changed with the online assessment. Other areas were explored assessment practices, beliefs, and attitudes toward language assessment, skill assessment focusing on one skill or another, like productive skills, writing and speaking, language assessment literacy and training needs, and finally English exams and mental health, how exams and how exams can affect students' mental health. And specifically, some of the studies were focused on anxiety. The last few years, I have been blessed to work with several colleagues on research articles. We explored some areas such as theorization and definition of assessment in official documents, assessment task and marks distributions, transnational English language teacher classroom-based assessment, assessment literacy, professional development, translation quality, and anxiety. And now we are also working on comparing and looking at AI generated tests versus teachers generated tests. Key research findings from the area that a teacher's role remains limited, even though teacher is at the hard core of the process, due to the unified nature of assessment, also the limited role and the small weight students, the teachers contribute to towards students grading. Also, lack of inclusivity and representation in developing assessment tools that don't respond or doesn't align with our students and their learning needs. Also, there are questions about the validity or unreliability of AI-generated tests. Also, the impact. There is the impact of beliefs, personal experience, and assessment culture, and PD or professional development opportunities on teachers' assessment behavior or assessment practices. Also, the huge influence of assessment by principles of summative assessment and with the most common tool used or the assessment task as the written exam. Also, teachers concept and transnational teachers, while they moved and they were mobile and moved from one space to another, one country to another, or one area to another, still there are findings that they have very similar perspective or ways of looking at not only how they understand assessment, but how they practice it, and also how they want to learn or develop their skills. Also, some teachers reported various needs for training for assessment and variation in the way they preferred to be trained. So, while some studies they found that they are similar, others found there are differences. Assessment of productive skills it existed in some institutions but doesn't exist in others, and unfortunately what is assessed is what's important and what's focused on. While this is something it's an unavoidable thing we don't want the tests to affect teaching and learning, but this is a fact. And also, some study teachers endorsed and valued assessment in the same way, and this is linked to the second point. Also, some of the findings that teacher wanted to maintain a balance between summative and assessment in the classroom, and they reported that it's sometimes hard to do so because of they have to follow like they have a schedule to follow, and for some formative assessment needs time. Also, top priorities for learning or literacy were related to peer assessment, which is again is on providing feedback, which is part of formative assessment. Also, writing test items about to learn about more about writing test items and about marking and scoring as an important aspect of summative assessment. And one more final topic was about not having equal access to paid professional development opportunities, which can be, to some they found it can be more useful if they got access to such opportunities. What are the implications from the research? It's very important that we have localized documents for assessment framework, assessment principles, assessment standards, principles to follow. Also to have when professional development programs are designed, teachers should be at the hardcore of the design to respond to their needs. Also, assessment literacy should be provided or promoted in several ways, like self-study, offering books, ebooks, journals, access to websites, online training, resources, webinars, and allowing access to assessment models through institutional subscription, borrowing from the central library. Also, things now with the innovative tools, some teachers they want to explore and to use these tools, so that could be an area where they can be funded to use AI assisted tools for assessment. In the process of having localized standards, it's very important that when we use international or widely used assessment standards, it's very important that we align these standards with our local ones, and if we don't have a local one, to align with what we know from our practice is important or essential. We used the Lucas team's approach to language assessment framework because we found it relevant to the main components that we want to focus on when we are looking at a teacher's assessment literacy. Also, it's important to test international language assessment measure at the different courses, university, college, and school. Still, the studies that we have are isolated and limited. Reviewing another point, which is more like into the policy of the institution, is to review assessment methods and instruments, and to be more active and more helpful and supportive to develop students' language skills, in particular productive skills. Where are we going? Future directions. We want more studies that look at test banks and assessment specifications and how they are developed and what do they focus on. AI tools and language assessment, how they are used. Stakeholders, language assessment literacy measures, measuring their assessment literacy. Whether we use Kernel and Harding's framework or we can adjust it and adapt it. Teachers' education documents and course components, how they educated before, while they are in the college. or in the university. Other areas or lenses we want to look at is teacher-made tests, quizzes, periodical and midterm exams, teacher-assessed tasks like presentations, writing, projects, and assessment assignments, and how they assess and how they approach the assessment, whether it's an institutional or individual one, analyzing teachers' formative task, assessment task, and activities such as feedback, questioning games, peer, and self-assessment tasks, exploring assessment standards, exploring AI and institutional support, whether institutions are ready to support AI innovations, and finally exploring sustainability in language assessment and how we can build resources that we can use and reuse over time and make good use of the technology so we can use less papers. That's my presentation. Thank you for listening, and it was a great pleasure to talk to you.